Greetings and salutations, creature lovers. This is Mr. Venom, welcoming you to episode 19 of No More Room in Hell presents Creature Comforts. Before we talk about the movie that we're going to discuss this week, let's go ahead and introduce my cohorts. First off, from the Horror Countdown podcast, this is Mr. Don Anelli. How you doing, Don?
Yeah, what's going on? Always happy to be here.
And coming to us from the main show, No More Room in Hell, and the former Cinema Attack, it is Mr. Derek B. How the hell you doing, Derek?
Hey, yo, Scott Hall.
And Razor Ramon is back. Holy shit, that was cosmic.
When Yimir fights the elephant, I'm like, yo, this is a Razor Ramon fight.
Oh, man. And if you don't know what he's talking about, folks, we'll get into it here in a few minutes. But before we jump into our feature review this episode, there was a little bit of creature feature news since the last time that we recorded. Obviously, something that all three of us are very excited for, and that is, of course, the release of the teaser trailer for the new Godzilla movie. Yes, the new Toho Godzilla movie from Japan. It will be dropping in Japan on November 2nd. It will be dropping in America on December 1st. And, of course, that is called Godzilla -1. Obviously, it's only a 30-second trailer, a teaser. It's not even a true trailer, but it's a 30-second teaser. I guess I'll just start up with Derek. I mean, did you see the trailer? And if so, what did you think?
Oh, yeah. It didn't really give much away. It gave, like, the aspect of, like, it's post-war Japan, a quick shot of fucking Godzilla. Yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes, Don,
in the little bit of Godzilla that we saw in that trailer, do you have any opinions on the new design?
I love it more than Shin. I'm not a huge fan of Shin overall, so going back to the more traditional look, I'm ecstatic. If it was a Suitmation version, I would be Brock hard right now, but I'll take what I can get at this point because I know that that's not going to be the case anymore. And I've fully resigned myself to going with the format that they're going with here. I mean, he looks great. It's a very 60s look with a little bit of haze-eye body planning. So I'm definitely on board with him.
Yeah, I absolutely love that design. They even gave us they dropped some pictures of some of the new action figures too that are going to be coming out. I forget the name of the company. It wasn't Bandai. It was a slightly higher end. What was it?
No, I'm trying to HNS or something.
That's it. Yeah, it was like initials starting with H. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So definitely more collectibles than action figures, but I mean, just to be able to see Big G in all his glory, on various angles. There's probably like 8 shots available right now of the new figure. So yeah, very excited.
Yeah, those figures are fucking expensive. Like and they come in multiple, like the Shin Godzilla. I saw the unboxing of the Shin Godzilla box one that they did, and it came in because the tail's so fucking huge. They had to come ship it in 3 different boxes.
I've seen some of HSN's, like their Batman stuff, and it's the exact same thing. It'll come in like 2 or 3 separate boxes, and you got to put it together. But man, the stuff that they do is amazing. I personally don't have any. I'm a Funko Pop collector, for those who don't know, but as far as like high-end toys, it's just a little beyond my means. But I can definitely appreciate the artwork there. And speaking of Godzilla, I actually got to meet a Godzilla this past weekend. This weekend was Days of the Dead out here in Los Angeles. Not a very large convention for anybody who's ever been to it. It's a little bit smaller, like Monster Palooza and LA Comic-Con are much larger than this than Days of the Dead, but it was still really fun. And I got to speak to Hurricane Ryu, who, of course, played Godzilla Jr. in Godzilla versus Destoroyah. And I know he played Godzilla in a couple other films as well. But, just a really cool guy. Got to talk to him for a few minutes. As always, I got to speak to Ben Furuya, I believe is the name. And, of course, Ultraman. Yeah, Ben is at a lot of these shows. I don't know if he's local to Los Angeles, but I see him like twice a year. So I'm starting to think maybe he is local. But yeah, he was there signing all the Ultraman stuff. Some of the lines were a little long, but I did get to get a couple of items signed from some more horror icons. Warrington Gillette, who played Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2. Bill Johnson, who played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. The entire cast of Aliens, minus Lance Hendrickson and Sigourney Weaver, were all there. Michael Biehn, everybody else was
Vasquez
there.
was there?
Vasquez was there, yeah. And literally everyone except, like I said, and Lance and Sigourney I've met previously, so I can say now that I've officially met everyone from Aliens. And yes, Newt was there too. Yeah. Obviously not the little girl that she was back in the 80s, but so yeah, that was a good time had by all. And you know, the Godzilla connection. There were other guys there who played Godzilla, but the lines were really, really long. Like I think there was a guy named Kawayama or I can't remember, damn it. But he played, I mean, these were all Heisei. Kitayama, thank you.
Kitayama.
Yeah, you are correct. Yes. I mean, all the guys that were there were obviously all Heisei or Millennium Godzilla guys, but yeah, just really cool to see them. So that's my little Days of the Dead report. So I guess at this point, let's go ahead and get into our main feature.
Airship XY-21, which crashed into the Mediterranean Sea on the 11th, was a single-stage, astral-propelled rocket launched 13 months ago from a site within the United States. The rocket, with its complement of 17 men, had landed on the planet Venus.
Venus?
The planet Venus?
Some of you may also have heard the story of a monster now confined here in Rome Zoo. That beast is from Venus.
For those electric cables. Misericordia!
Power's gone.
This week, we decided to take our second dive into Ray Harryhausen fare. And with this one, we are looking at 1957's 20 Million Miles to Earth. It is an hour and 22 minutes long, and our synopsis is as follows. The first U.S. spaceship to Venus crash lands off the coast of Sicily on its return trip. A dangerous lizard-like creature comes with it and quickly grows gigantic. This one is directed by Nathan Jurin. It is written by Robert Crichton Williams and stars William Hopper, Joan Taylor, and Frank Paglia, I believe. I'll go with that.
Or as I called him, old Robert Loggia's brother.
Yes, I'll go with that. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and open up with Don, because I know Don mentioned he has a major, major love for this film. So, Don, let's bring you in here first. What's your general thoughts on 20 Million Miles to Earth?
Yeah, this is one of the earliest of the Harryhausen ones. I don't remember the exact order beyond the first two. The first ones were Clash of the Titans and then Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, but I don't remember the order after that. This is probably right up there. is in like the earliest ones that I saw. I believe Jason and the Argonauts is right around this time frame, and I want to say Golden Voyage of Sinbad, but again, this is going back to me being 10, 11 years old. So we're talking around 20 plus years of movie watching. So I don't remember that order. I know the first two, but after that, like the rest of the order is pure pretty foggy. But this is probably my favorite of Harryhausen's 50s work. I think Beast is probably a better film than this, but I think in terms of just pure enjoyment, I think this is probably my favorite of his 50s work. This is so much fun. You have a great story here. The science is a little sketchy. I don't think Venus, last I checked, is not 20 million miles away from Earth. So I don't think that the math checks out. I don't think the science checks out here. Yeah, some of the the little eccentricities and some of the science is a little sketchy, but other than that, we have a lot of fun here. It starts hot with this spectacular crash in the middle of the sea. The burgeoning mystery of what this strange little jelly-like substance is, and now how this little figure is able to rapidly just grow and get bigger and bigger as longer he stays in Earth's society. But more than anything else, this is the one that really shows you just what kind of personality the creature has, and you really get to feel for him. He's trying to adapt to a new he's literally trying to adapt to a new planet. I mean, let's just be honest here, because the things from Venus, but
it's a stranger in a strange world.
Yeah, I mean, he literally is the personification of that, because he's on a planet that he's never known before. Trying to figure out why these strange pink blobs are trying to shoot him and stick him with pitchforks.
Why is this dog trying to attack me?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't know what Bowser is, or Rover, or Rex, or whatever the guy called him. I'm trying to think back on what he called his dog, because he calls him out a couple times. But I mean, yeah, he's trying to figure out why this furry little yapping thing is trying to bite him. So, and I mean, yeah, you really get to feel for it, and he does have his vicious moments, but I mean, he does have that kaiju sensibility where he's trying to figure out what's going on, and all of these things keep attacking him. Like, everything is always, they attack him first, and it adds kind of a motorcycle zooming by kind of a mentality. But yeah, there's a real sense of sympathy here for the creature, and I really enjoy that. You still get some city destruction here and there with a brief but fun little rampage. But yeah, I think this is probably like my favorite of the Harryhausen films from the 50s, and it's still a fun time. It still holds up well. I think this is still before Dynamation, right? Because I think that's Jason and the Argonauts, right? Or is that Golden Voyage?
Seven Voyage, I think, started the Diamondation period.
Okay, so yeah, this is still before that. So you still have the traditional stop motion stuff where it's not, the glass paintings being integrated into the film. So yeah, all of the interactions here are still straightforward CG, stop motion, and it looks really good. Some of the, scenes are, handled pretty well, like the, Colosseum attack where he's standing in the walls in the background and you have the humans in the foreground. So I mean, yeah, there's still a lot to like here. I mean, like I said, it's got some problems, but I'm able to overlook that, and just yeah, it's a fun time and definitely one of my favorites.
Luckily, no one knew the science in 1957, at least for movie viewers, so it was probably fairly safe. Derek, come on in here, brother. What did you think of 20 million miles to Earth?
20 million miles to Earth. Yeah, this is a movie I grew up with for years. Actually, the first time I ever seen any footage of this movie, it's actually some of the footage was in Joe Dante's movie The Explorers, which also dealt with alien beings and shit like that. And there's actually a fun scene in that movie where, the main alien played by Robert Picardo shows them footage of how Americans or Earthlings depict aliens, and one of the movies shown was 20 million miles to Earth. And I thought that was oh shit, and it's actually the ending of the movie where the monster's killed. So I was like, damn, aliens hate us. But yeah, and then I got to see this movie a few years later after that, and man, I love the Yimir design. Actually, when I was picking up these movies originally, I got like the special like fucking Ray Harryhausen box set thing that came in like this big giant box, because it comes with an actual figurine of Yimir himself, actually made from the actual molds that Ray Harryhausen used. They're even like signed cards signed by Ray Harryhausen that came with them and shit like that. And yeah, it's a cool experience. Actually, the weird thing is the first time I seen this movie was in color, because I actually own the copy that comes with both the black and white version and the color version, which Ray Harryhausen actually sat through, and that guy's wig was that color. Yimir was that color. But I still watch the movie in black and white actually for like a movie like this, whatever way you watch it, I actually think it looks pretty okay, both versions. I'm like, oh, you should watch your movies in the color that they were for. You know what I mean? Some of those colorized versions are bullshit too, like the old like Turner Classic King Kong colorized version. But at least they had like Harryhausen sitting in the that guy's jacket was blue that day. And Nathan Geron's no slouch to the creature features himself. Because before this he did like the Daily Mantis, which we'll probably talk about sometime in the future. Which which I first saw in Mysterious Theater 3000, and he did Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, and did a few more Ray Harryhausen's. First Men to the Moon, which I loved. He did Jack the Giant Killer with fucking Kerwin Matthews. Fuck yeah. Harryhausen didn't do the effects in that movie, but I actually do love the effects of that one still. The movie itself, it does suffer from a few like age things, but overall it's a fast-paced movie. So none of that shit kind of really bothers me when I'm always watching this one. Yeah, I just love the characterization of the Ymir character. I kind of agree with Don where like it's an alien that's trying to adapt to this world and its surroundings, and it's just an animal pretty much, and it's not trying to go out and fucking kill people. It's just look hungry or something, or like trying to defend itself pretty much. And I think that's displayed very well with the effects too in this movie. Mm-hmm. And another thing that I give a big ups for, which like a lot of suffers from like the 50s era Ray Harryhausen stuff, like Earth versus the Flying Saucers, and It Came from the Beneath the Sea, is those movies were plagued with a lot of fucking narration during them. I'm glad that this one kind of cut all that out and just had like some opening narration. That's it. Because all I remember,
yeah, that's right. I've almost forgot about all that.
Yeah, that's the thing that
you forget about it. Yeah,
because in those movies it's fucking like, and this narration starts fucking happening when people are fucking having a conversation. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? So yeah, I kind of agree. It's one of his best of his 50 shit before he started doing like the epics.
For me, this is probably a second or third time watch. I picked this Blu-ray up, I don't know, maybe like 6-7 years ago. There was a video store out here that was closing, and they were liquidating everything. And I got this on a 2-pack with this, and It Came from Beneath the Sea, another really good Harryhausen one. So yeah, this is one that I've watched a couple of times, and I'm gonna pretty much agree with the sentiment in the room. I love this fucking movie. This movie is so much fun, despite its shaky science. If you don't think about that too much, you're gonna have a good time. Don and Derek have both made some really great points. I love Don's point about the sympathetic character, the sympathetic nature of Ymir, and the fact that he never attacks anyone first. He is always attacked first. Very similar to Troll that we watched at the end of last year and reviewed. Again, not attacking people, not looking to destroy or kill or murder, but as soon as he appears, the military and the police and everybody else just start attacking. So then he gets confused and angry. So of course he's going to defend himself. He's going to lash out. So solid argument. This score, I really, really like this score, including the opening credits music. The opening credits music is really eerie and kind of somber, but it sets the mood so nicely. The tension is kind of broken by the not so great effects of the rocket crash, of the spaceship crash. But again, it's 1957. You can get past it. I was so worried because once I saw that there was a kid as a main character in this movie, instantly, you guys know, instantly I think of young Gary and I start thinking, how is this little kid gonna fuck up this situation? And despite this kid actually being kind of likable, like I didn't hate him, he does still fuck up the situation. He is.
Only one was you got a horse out of it too.
Yeah, well, you got a cowboy hat or something, I think. Oh man. Oh, by the way, for those who are curious, Venus is 31.3 million miles away from Earth, so they were close.
That was the part I was gonna.
Yeah,
I mean, if they would have called it 30 million, I wouldn't have minded that much because people back then wouldn't have known.
Exactly. Who knows the distance from planets back in 57? There's no Google.
Yeah, let's be fair too, though. They probably didn't even really know back then either.
Nah, exactly. That's what I mean. In 1957, the shaky science isn't really a major deterrent for the movie. Obviously, as we watch it in 2023, there's some laughable dialogue, some maybe questionable decisions made, things like that. But, for the most part, this movie is just so much fun. It's only an hour and 22 minutes long. It is a quick watch. You don't have to wait long. The rocket crash is literally like in the first 2 minutes of the film. Then, it just kind of goes from there with our fisherman finding the rocket, going into the rocket, finding the one survivor, getting him out of the rocket before it sinks to oblivion. Yeah, there's the pacing is great. You're interested the entire time. There's no hateable characters in here. There's no skeptics or just idiotic characters that just want to, nuke the thing from orbit or whatever. So, yeah, overall, I really did like that. But like I said, the little kid finding the canister on the beach, as soon as he finds it, it's like, oh, there we go. No way a little kid's going to be able to fight his curiosity enough. Especially a poor kid who, he probably didn't even know what that canister was. He's like, what the hell is this thing? It looks like a little refrigerator. But obviously, through his action and ignorance of the situation, he, of course, releases the egg, sells it to a scientist for 200 lira. By the way, I looked it up. 200 lira in 1957 is 60 cents. So
damn,
the kid sold that. He sold that. He sold an alien egg / pod, whatever the fuck you want to call it. He sold it for 60 cents so he could buy a cowboy hat. It's kind of interesting.
I wish I could buy a cowboy hat for 60 cents.
No shit. Yeah, damn, I would buy that.
Now, so remember, he has to import it because he claimed that they're from Texas.
Right. He wanted a real
Texas even like the fucking hat. Shipping fees are even more cheaper back.
Exactly.
Maybe they have an old Western shop somewhere in downtown Sicily. I don't know. It does seem weird, but hey, again,
owned by Luigi Cozy,
and his name was Peppy, which I kind of like. Let's
talk about the main actors, main character's wig.
What's that?
The main actor's wig that he wore for this whole movie was amazing.
Oh, hey, it got him a date. Good for him.
It did.
What's funny too with those two is that literally 1 minute they're like kind of antagonistic towards each other because she's trying to dress his wound and he's kind of playing Jesse Ventura, I ain't got time to bleed. But in the course of like a 1 minute conversation, they go from animosity to going on a date after the creature gone. It's like, wow, that's some fast work right there. So pretty damn impressive. I'll give it up to William Hopper, or the character's name, Colonel Calder.
Yeah. Ymir, though, yeah.
Yes, exactly. There's just multiple amazing set pieces in here. Ymir's escape from his holding container is just brutal on him. I mean, just the way that he rips through that cage. I thought the dogfight was really well done. Because obviously you've got Yimir, which is a stop motion creature fighting a dog, which is a real animal. So you can't film them together, obviously. Again, for 1957, Harryhausen is king. So yeah, it's not. And same thing with the final fight maybe not the final fight, but the final creature fight of the movie where
that's my favorite.
Ymir's
the elephant.
That fight is spectacular.
That elephant went hard.
Oh, big time. They both went hard. That was an intense fight. That was one of the more intense kaiju fights or giant monster fights I've seen in a long time. That was pretty damn awesome. It looks great. It's believable. Other than the part where the elephant fell on top of those two guys, and when the elephant got up, they weren't pancakes on the road, but whatever. Suspension of disbelief again.
They were.
Yeah.
That's why they should have been stains on the concrete.
Like Judge Doom and
that wasn't even a normal size elephant. Oh, big time. Yeah, Judge Doom. Absolutely. But yeah, the way that they did the dog fight with the shadows, thought it was just really, really well done. I liked his yell. It's one of those things that you worry that you're going to get sick of a creature's, vocalizations in a movie, especially if it ends up being really stupid, like say the giant lobster from Teenagers from Outer Space, where it's basically just yelling. That thing is ridiculous. And there's plenty of other examples too. But here,
Titanosaurus.
Ymir, yeah, he definitely has like a elephant mixed with a pterodactyl mixed with just something else, something like his voice. And I also liked how his voice changed as he got bigger, because obviously his vocal cords are getting bigger. Yeah. So it's going to change the resonation of his vocal cords. And yeah, as he got bigger, by the way, we haven't even really mentioned that yet, that Ymir starts off as a very small creature, like literally hand size. He could fit in your hand. And basically, he is doubling in size every day. So every 24 hours, he literally doubles in size.
He's fucking juicing when they sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So it is interesting to see, like, the first couple of days, because, first he's, like, tiny, then he's, like, the size of a dog, then he's, like, the size of a small human, so he's still, like, they can handle him. He's still manageable at that size. But then, of course, eventually he's going to get too big, and, they're going to have to try to restrain him, and, of course, as in any good monster movie, no restraints hold permanently. Of course, he's going to get out, and the escape was a spectacular scene. I really, really like that. Oh, and then the final fight, the finale at the fucking Coliseum. What a setting for a finale. I do wish that the elephant fight was a little bit more of the finale, because ultimately, once you get to the end of the movie, it's Ymir versus a 50 caliber cannon, and the 50 caliber cannon wins, unfortunately. So it seems not ultra believable, but again, shaky science, because early on, when Ymir was about the size of a human, they would shoot at him and the bullets had no effect. They I don't know if they weren't penetrating, if they were bouncing off, or if maybe they were just terrible shots in general. But it did seem like when they shot Ymir with like a standard handgun, when Ymir was like dog or human size, it didn't have an effect on him. But then somehow, once he's gigantic, a 50 caliber cannon does pierce his flesh fairly easily. I mean, they take him down. Once he gets to the top of the Coliseum, they take him down fairly easily with the 50 cal. Not the most satisfying finale, but ultimately, because of everything that we got before that, it just makes the movie that much more enjoyable. Both, the dog fight done in shadows, the elephant fight, coming out of the pod, his little birthing scene, if you will. I mean, there's just so many great set pieces here. There's so much to love. Like I said, the only complaint I would probably have is just I wish the finale was a little bit more, how can I put it, just spectacular. You know what I mean? I mean, you're talking about a gigantic creature that's marauding through Rome and parts of Sicily. It's like, well, I want to see something, either some kind of bomb or their original idea of like the electric netting, to kind of charge them. Because at one point in the movie, Colonel Calder basically says that they did experiments on some of the creatures back on Venus and that they are affected by electrical current. So obviously they try that. It works for a little while. They're able to subdue the creature, but obviously that's not going to last for long. And as the creature gets bigger, you have to up the voltage too. So potentially that could become an issue. So yeah, the movie has all the beats that we expect from a creature feature. We find the creature as a larva, it grows up, it marauds through the city, it becomes a bigger problem as it gets bigger, until we have our big finale at the end. So, ultimately the movie isn't, maybe for 1957, it's incredibly innovative, but, at this point, after watching so many creature features, we kind of see the formula for a lot of these movies. And this one follows that. And it's not a knock on the film by any stretch, because like I said, 1957. So what else can we talk about? Derek, get in here.
Yeah. Fucking the scene that I always fucking go back to is like the aspect. No, not just the scene, but the whole idea why this movie takes place in Rome was this Ray Harryhausen wanted to go to vacation to Italy.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it helps. I love the scenery. It stands out with other movies from that time period, because even like some of like the other ones are just USA. So it was kind of cool that this took place in like a strange foreign land too, for a stranger in a strange land kind of story in that aspect. Phil Tippett loves this fucking movie. He's on the commentary on my DVD copy.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, and Dennis Muren, good shit. Yeah, the aspect of Yimir I like, especially looking at like my model right now, is he actually has like little indents like underneath his hand where would be like nails. They're like fucking nails on his hand. Like, it's kind of cool. I never noticed them until recently. I'm like, what the fuck are these for? Does he do like fucking ninja cuts and shit? Like, shit like that. But yeah, and
right.
you actually pointed something out really cool when I posted like the image of that. When you posted the picture of the Kraken from Clash of the Titans.
Oh, right.
And I never noticed the similarities before.
I noticed it instantly on this watch. I've never noticed it before, but for some reason, as soon as Ymir was like big enough that you could see his full design, I'm like, that's the top half of the Kraken. Because obviously the Kraken from Clash of the Titans had like his lower body was like tentacles, kind of squid-like. But the top half looks almost exactly like Ymir. So obviously Harryhausen really likes that design because he used it again, or he borrowed from it, I should say.
Yeah, he kind of did that with like, what's it called? The fucking Cyclopses from like the Sinbad movies too. Used them in different characters in those other movies.
Yeah, that's valid. Absolutely. Yeah. I was going to say, man, all the effects in this movie look great, but there was one, and, the crash, the spaceship crash is, it's all right.
It's not Harryhausen's best spaceship.
Not by any stretch, no. Yeah. But the one effect in this movie that really took me out of it, because it flat out looks bad to me, is when they're fighting at the Coliseum and those pillars come down, and the chunks of the pillar are actually animated. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
they actually cel-shaded.
Yeah, it looks a little weird. I caught it maybe not on like my first watch, but it took me like a couple of watches to figure it out. And yeah, it looks like they're like cel animated or like really, really, really awkwardly superimposed like pieces put onto the like matted in, but like maybe not quite done really well.
Right.
Because they look distinctly off, not like genuine like rubble, but like it just looks kind of awkward maybe.
No, I was gonna say it's kind of like the same aspect of like the kind of like the rumble effects in Gorgo too that we reviewed on Underwater Kaiju back in the day.
Right.
They kind of had the same type of like the rock effects going on to like people like and they're fading into them. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I found it weird that they didn't just use like, foam rubber or pillar pieces, kind of like today they would just use CG, but like in the 80s and 90s, they would have just used like foam rubber pieces of pillar and falling on real humans.
And imagine
obviously,
you
have to film
that's
it.
the only good part of Young Gary. Is they actually do use the rubble.
Exactly, big time. But ultimately, if that's the only thing that I've got to complain about with this movie, then they did a good job. Because ultimately, there's very little to complain about with this movie. I think we've kind of hit on most of the points on the few negative points that the movie has. But yeah, overall, I absolutely love this film. This thing is so much fun. It's quick. It's smart. Like, no one comes off as idiotic in the movie. You know what I mean? Like,
the only one I think that does is I think it's the town mayor or the commissario or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, but he's just doing his job. They're always dumb in those movies.
Yeah, but the idea for him to think that he can outwit the U.S. military, I think his kind of motivation just really wasn't there.
You know what my favorite is now? Is the sheriff from Earth versus the Spider. Oh, go ahead, Don. Sorry.
No, what I'm saying is that for me, I think his motivation to try to capture it and kill it, I think he doesn't really have like the motivation yet because he only really has the one attack that doesn't really have. There's like, the only reason that he's going after it is because it attacked the farmer, which, okay, that's fine. You've got, the town to worry about. But it was always everybody attacked him first. And you've got to let the military try to recapture it because it's still technically on, their grounds. They're still there for their recapture mission. So the idea for him going rogue and then they kind of just drop the whole thing altogether because the military just captures them anyway, right out from underneath them. Yep. I don't know. That whole plot of it was kind of just really weird and kind of just shoehorned in there. If we're going off of nitpicks, I think that just really feels like really weird and awkward. Just for him to come in, try to like sneak the creature out from underneath the military's nose, and then have the whole thing dropped, and then the military captures him anyway. So why throw a fit for no reason?
Valid. I mean, the only defense I have for that is just maybe he doesn't like Americans that much, and because it was an American spaceship that crash landed off the coast of Sicily, he has no choice but to deal with, American military, politicians, blah, blah, blah. And I think he just doesn't like it. I'm not disagreeing with you, Don. You're right. He comes off kind of cartoony at times, because it's true. I mean, what could he possibly do that the American military couldn't have already done? It's not like Italy has a space program, so to my knowledge, anyway.
Imagine.
Yeah.
I just found out India has a space program. That was like the surprise of the month.
I think we all did.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Bollywood in space.
we all.
I can't wait for Bollywood chasing in space.
Oh, Bollywood moon landing! God damn it! And they totally missed an opportunity to dance on the moon. God damn it! That would have been spectacular. Anyway, back to Ymir. I mean, that's pretty much all I have. Do you guys have any closing comments before we get out of here?
Oh, we've been doing good movies lately, so it's kind of hard to.
Yeah.
We gotta pick a real shitty one for the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't really have much to say. Wow, this movie's a classic. Everybody should go see it. Well, great talk, everyone.
Yeah. It's kind of like that on Fresh Cuts too, when we all three of us agree on, whether the movie is good or bad. It ends up being like not the most active conversation, but
yeah.
I mean, ultimately,
we're true.
They made a good
classic.
movie.
Go watch it. I mean, we're right. Yeah. This is a classic. Go watch it. But yeah, not exactly the most thrilling conversation piece.
Sadly, yes, but at least now everyone who's listening to us knows we all love this movie, and you should go check it out as well. I don't know if it's available on any streaming services Tubi. Since I actually own it. It's on Tubi? Perfect.
That's where I saw it, folks.
On
Tubi, and I think
for
it's
free.
Tubi, and I think the regular Plex, the Freeview thing.
Oh,
I think
it's-
Plex. Okay.
Yeah, the regular free Plex. I think it's there as well.
There you go, folks. You have a couple of different outlets to watch the movie. If you haven't seen it, by all means, check it out. I think all three of us give a high recommendation for that one. It is a must-watch if you are into creature features, Ray Harryhausen, stop-motion animation, whatever you want to go with. This is definitely a must-watch. So, again, thank you all so much for joining us. On behalf of Don and Derek, I am Mr. Venom. Once again, thanking you so much for joining us for No More Room in Hell presents Creature Comforts, episode 19. We'll see you next time, folks. Say goodbye to the listeners.
Later.
He was so angry.
I hear them dying in my head. Dreamland is not a dream. This place not what it seems. I hear them dying in my head.